Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon, and welcome to Knowledge Talks, a weekly edutainment and knowledge sharing program aired live specifically to share with you topics that contribute knowledge to the society. Now, every week, Knowledge Topic hosts and invite guests that are experts, professionals, and leaders from the field locally that bring wealth of knowledge to you. Knowledge Talks also highlights and promotes talents in the country that contributes knowledge and success to the nation. This program, ladies and gentlemen, is a weekly session that I will have with you every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. I'm your host, Tariq Al-Barwani, along with our studio engineer, DJ Al-Masrouri, for an hour bringing you free knowledge at your doorsteps on Oman Radio FM 90.4. Okay, stay tuned after this music break for today's knowledge topic. Okay, welcome back to Knowledge Talks, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Tariq Al-Barwani, along with our studio engineer, DJ Saleh, with you here live today on Oman Radio FM 90.4. Social entrepreneurs are individuals that come up with innovative solutions to society's most pressing social problems. Now, the question really is what are the examples of social entrepreneurs? What do they have in common with regular entrepreneurs? What are the differences? What does it take to be a social entrepreneur? And can you be one? Can we all be social entrepreneurs? And do we need any formal education to be a social entrepreneur? Now, well, who could better explain this than the passionate Mr. Sajan Nair? Sajan is the country manager of Expert Learning. Sajan is passionate about the field of social entrepreneurship and is presently concurrently pursuing 2 courses in social entrepreneurship. One from the University of Copenhagen and another one from the University of Pennsylvania. He dreams to start his own social enterprise in the years to come. Well, I'm very, very pleased to welcome Sajan today on air here at Knowledge Talks as we explore all that you need to know about social entrepreneurship. Sajan, salamu alaikum, and welcome aboard and welcome on Knowledge Talks today.
Well, thank you, Tariq. It's a pleasure to be here.
How are you doing, Sajan?
I'm very good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. Sajan, let me say something on a personal note. You know, you and I come way long ago since I've come and met you. About a year to 2 years ago.
That's right.
When we worked together in Knowledge Oman. And something that I would like to say about you is that I like how you are. You are humble. You are nice. You are knowledgeable. And indeed, you are a coach. That's what I like about you.
Thank you, Tariq. Thank you.
Yeah, you've contributed very great at the community initiatives. I know you've been very busy, but today I said, what would be better than getting you on air? Not for only you to share knowledge with me, not for you to share only with the people with the Knowledge Oman, but today you share your knowledge with everyone who's listening today at our program today.
It's absolutely a pleasure.
Our topic today, Sajan, is about social entrepreneurship.
Sure.
And I know you have. Apart from that, you're studying about the subject, you've been exploring about the topic as well, and we've had a number of chats a number of times about the subject. And this subject itself, as in the social engineering and entrepreneurship, is a subject that a lot of people want to know about it. So to start our program today, could you kindly define what is social entrepreneurship?
Certainly. So social entrepreneurship is a type of business which core agenda is to create lasting social impact. Now, the social impact that social entrepreneurs create can be related to health, education, environment, or poverty alleviation. And some of the features of social entrepreneurship are that it definitely needs to be a novel solution. And when we say novel, what we mean is it's generally out of the box. And that's the reason why the word social entrepreneurship is often used interchangeably with the concept of social innovation. Because innovation is a key aspect. The other thing is social entrepreneurship is seen to be a more effective, sustainable, and efficient solution than other existing solutions to deal with the problem. And last but not the least, the value accumulated as a result of a social entrepreneurship initiative needs to primarily go to society, and that's a key aspect which makes social entrepreneurship social. In other words, in layman's terms, perhaps we could define it as the business of doing good. And if we could just try to look at it from another perspective, when we look at public problem solving, there are three approaches that traditionally has been taken to solve public problems. And one of the approaches, the government comes in and solves the public problem. And the second approach is the NGO comes in and solves the public problem. And the third approach is the business comes in and solves the public problem. And we can clearly see that in the output of these two, or on the core focus of these two approaches, there is a distinct difference between the way the government and the NGO does it versus the way business does it. The difference basically is this. The government and NGOs are very focused on the mission being solving the problem. However, business, they focus on the bottom line, which is to make profits and to create shareholder value. So now what social entrepreneurship has done to this entire approach is that it says there is no difference anymore. Okay. It says that businesses can be run, profits can be created, and the profit can be reinvested in the business so that it sustains, because that is the way it can create lasting social impact.
Okay.
So to summarize once again, it's the business of doing good.
Okay, I like the term, business of doing good. So when you say business of doing good, is it when you use the term business, is people would very much relate it to making money as well?
Right.
So is it making money for doing good, but want to make money?
It's a fantastic and poignant question, and a very relevant question that we need to kind of get out of the way quite early in our understanding of social entrepreneurship. And see, there isn't a conflict between the agenda of the entrepreneurship agenda, which basically means to make profits. There isn't a conflict with that agenda and the social agenda, as long as the profit is done. I mean, as long as the profit is made in order to invest it back into the business.
Okay.
Because the business sustains and social impact is lasting. So if the profit, on the other hand, is made for personal gains or the gains of a few, then it wouldn't confine to the definition of social entrepreneurship.
Okay. Could you in any way relate this to corporate social responsibility? This is the term that many organizations use today, CSR, which stands for corporate social responsibility,
right,
in which they do activities that bring back to the society. Is it related? Is it the same thing?
I think I have definitely thought about this, and I've, to be perfectly honest, I haven't concluded as to my personal opinion about whether whether they're really equal. Because see, social entrepreneurship is really three features. One is it's innovative, it's scalable, and it really impacts a lot of people. And the primary purpose why the enterprise exists is for serving the community. However, in the case of corporate social responsibility, I think it cannot be disputed that there is value to the community. However, is that the core reason why the business exists? I think there is some kind of doubt in that. So yes and no would be the answer.
Okay. Can we sort of can we therefore say that probably a social entrepreneur or a social enterprise per se is an organization that totally, or as you rightly said, primarily does business for impacting society?
Absolutely.
So can you give me some examples of social enterprises?
Excellent. So I'd like to share two interesting examples, and we can refer back to those examples in a conversation in the future. So one of the examples is that of the Embrace Incubator, which was started by Stanford students, and that's one of the reasons why I share this example, because it was started by people with almost zero experience, immediately during their college. So the problem is that always there's a problem that a social entrepreneurship, that a social enterprise addresses, and the problem here was that infant mortality. We know that in the world there are thousands of children dying, and particularly when they're infants. And one of the reasons why they die is because of something called exposure. And this is applicable to children who are born in a premature way. So children who are born premature need to be kept at a certain temperature for a certain period of time. And if their bodies don't receive that warmth for that period of time, then they would die. So as a result of this, thousands of people dying all over the world. Now, one of the solutions for this problem, which has been existing for a while, is incubators, right? Now, incubators, basically they electronically control, and it maintains the temperature and it gives exactly what is needed. But there is a problem in that the incubators are extremely expensive. So what happens is in third world countries and many other countries, they do not have enough incubators, or they have almost no, they're not in a position to afford incubators, resulting in so many children dying. So what these Stanford students did is they asked themselves if they could design an absolutely new and innovative incubator. And then they asked themselves, what if the incubator has to be $25 instead of $2,500? And then they came up with an absolutely innovative idea. The idea was they created a sleeping bag. All right, and the sleeping bag would basically wrap around the child, the baby, and there was a space-aged wax sheet which was created. Which was created that could be heated in warm water and inserted in a back pouch in the sleeping pad, and the warmth coming out of this sheet would radiate all over the sleeping bag and keep the baby warm for 4 hours.
Wow!
So after the 4 hours, the sheet could be removed, reheated, and kept back into the pouch. Now we can see that there's an absolutely new way of thinking. They think with a clean slate. And then the solution, apart from being extremely cost effective, was durable. And it can be reused, it's portable, it can be transported, it's hygienic, safe and effective. And it's financially sustainable because the volume of business that was generated as a result of the product being very cost effective was used to sustain the business, reinvest in the business, sustain the business and create more impact to society. So over 250,000 units have been sold and the numbers counting yet. So, and the other important feature is that this solution was scalable in the sense that now there are so many countries where they're using the Embrace sleeping bags. So we can see that at a very low cost, a huge global problem was addressed using a totally different approach and technology.
Wow.
So this has all the aspects of a social enterprise.
Okay, well, that's very, very nice, huh? That's a very, very good example and a noble too.
Absolutely.
Okay. Is there any other example you have?
Certainly. There also is this, and there's a slightly different example, and I think one we might refer to in the future in this conversation. I mean, this gentleman by name Torkel Sona was an IT professional, and he had 2 children, and he was living in Denmark at the time, and he was working in an IT firm, had an extremely successful career. When his third son, whose name is Lars, was born, and at his age 3, the child started exhibiting some unusual behavioral problems. So it became clear by the age 3 that the child was diagnosed with autism. So, like all caring parents, Torkel started to worry about his child and thinking about the future of the child. And he did some search and realized that less than 6% of people who had autism were employed all over the world. So he was very, very disappointed. But one day when Lars, Torkel's son, was 7 years old, he realized that Lars had some special abilities, because Lars had created an image. He scribbled some image which had some numbers and all that, which he later found was related to some exemplary demonstration of memory skills. So when he did some more research, Torkel understood that most of the children who have autism have these special abilities. They have extremely good memories and they're very ritualistic. So he thought, why can we not use these skills in jobs where these skills are an asset? So for example, IT software testing. So he came up with this company. It's called Special Intern. And Special Intern's goal is to employ 1 million autism children. I mean, 1 million people who are suffering from autism. All over the world, right? So now they're an extremely successful business.
Wow.
And they're gainfully employing autistic children. They're also employing others, but 70% of the staff are people who have got autism.
Okay.
And it has been, the idea has been again reproduced in several other countries.
Amazing. Now these two are very, very interesting example. And these two, the relation, or something that I can take away is their primary cause, as you have rightly put in, is bringing impact to the society. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break before we continue our session today. Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Our topic today is about social entrepreneurship, and my guest is Sajan Nair. Sajan Nair is the country manager of Expert Learning, and he is a very, very good friend of mine, and we know him and we refer him as the coach. Sajan, we have spoke about the social enterprises. You gave some very interesting example. Of course, we defined the social entrepreneurship, and we looked at how these enterprises are different to organization. What I would like to know, and what I'm sure a lot of people would like to know, is who is, or an example of, a social entrepreneur. But before we go that, let's just define what is an entrepreneur.
Right.
And then say, what is a social entrepreneur, and the difference between the two.
Excellent. So, an entrepreneur basically is somebody who has an entrepreneurial zest, And by that, what we mean is there is the enthusiasm, there is a passionate belief that the future could be different, and there is an ability to articulate the future the way the entrepreneur sees it. There's an ability to build strategy. There's an ability to kind of seek opportunities, to identify competition, to create competitive advantage, and to measure performance. So all these is a part of being entrepreneurial. So now coming to social, in social entrepreneurship, definitely this aspect needs to be there. However, the difference between regular enterprises versus social enterprises is that, like we discussed previously, the core focus is to create lasting social impact. So again, all the output of the entrepreneurial zest is with the goal of creating social impact.
Can any businessman be an entrepreneur? Someone who goes out and starts a business, can he or she be called or referred to as an entrepreneur?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Why not,
Okay, they could be called. Can they be called a social entrepreneur?
Again, if the core agenda for starting the business is in order to impact society in a positive way, in a lasting way, hopefully with an absolutely innovative solution, then they can be called social entrepreneurs.
What is the quality of a social entrepreneur?
Oh, great question. The important quality of a social entrepreneur is, one, they're completely connected to the mission to create value for society. As we discussed previously, they need to have the entrepreneurial zest. They need to have a relentless character. They need to seek opportunities. They need to be people who innovate, adapt, learn, evolve. They're absolutely bold. And one of the most important qualities is that they're absolutely accountable. Social entrepreneurs are aware that the problems that they're dealing with and the solutions that they're kind of proposing for the problems has an impact on a lot of people. So they're constantly aware of that they're really accountable to society, to the people who they're working with, and so on and so forth.
Okay, and these definition, as in social entrepreneur and social enterprises, has been picking up quite a popularity now. A lot of people are talking about it. In fact, to be honest, when I posted it last week about the interview that you will be coming in and to speak about this, a lot of people have been asking about it and looking for, and I'm sure a lot are here listening to you right now, Sajan. So, what is the reason for that?
Right. I think one of the obvious reasons is that it's got a philanthropic motive, a motive of serving people. That's one. And the other reasons could be that, there's been a phenomenal success for social enterprises such as Ashoka, which is which has got what do you call their branches all over the world. We're Unlimited in the UK. It's absolutely successful social enterprise. We've got Special in Time. We just discussed some time back. Grameen Bank in Bangladesh, and Embrace Incubators. We discussed some time back, right? So there's been phenomenal success for these things and phenomenal social impact.
Okay.
And that's one of the reason. The other reason could be about the take that public figures have had on this subject. For example, Bill Gates says that I see there are two great forces in human nature. One is self-interest and the other is caring for others, says Bill Gates. He says that businesses serve the interest of the group who are having self-interest. However, it can take care of them only when they're in a position to pay money. On the other hand, philanthropy and government channel are caring for the needs of those who cannot pay, but the resources run out before the needs are completely met. So Bill Gates suggests that in order to provide for the poor, a system that draws in innovators and businesses in a far better way is needed. I call this creative capitalism, says Bill Gates. So creative capitalism is another way of understanding social innovation or social entrepreneurship. The other interesting take is by Mr. Muhammad Yunus, who's the founder of the Grameen Bank. He mentions that non-profits alone have proven to be an inadequate response to social problems. Charity is a form of trickle-down economics, he says. And if the trickle stops, so does the help for the needy. And in countries where the needs are the greatest and the resources for charity are usually very small, the need to constantly raise funds from donors uses up the time and energy of non-profit leaders. Therefore, Muhammad Yunus suggests we need to introduce another kind of business called social business. So a mix of the philanthropic motive, how it has caught public imagination, and how popular public figures have commented about this field of business, if you will. These are the reasons for the popularity of the business.
Okay, that's very interesting. Now, can you tell me one thing? The common thing or the common qualities between these two definitions, which is the social entrepreneurs and the regional business people, or i.e. the entrepreneurs.
Right. So, as we discussed earlier, the entrepreneurial zest is definitely one of the common qualities, and of course, and that needs to be there. I mean, it's not possible to run a social enterprise by a person who's completely charity-minded, because he cannot generate it in a sustainable way. So definitely, he or she needs to have the entrepreneurial kind of acumen. So that's key. Absolutely,
that's key.
Right.
And now, how would the social entrepreneurs be different from other entrepreneurs?
Yes, they would. See, often we've seen the story of special intern. Now, there is usually a direct connect of the person involved with the problem, So in this case, we've noticed that the father, he had a child who was suffering from autism, right? So we see people have had these difficulties. So they've had a direct connect with a social issue, and they find a lot of passion to solve that, a passion and a lot of compassion to solve these social issues. So that's a possibility, but that's not a mandatory criteria for a social entrepreneur. The other aspect is the social entrepreneur needs to be passionate. He needs to be always constantly thinking about solving public problems, creating lasting social impact, and he or she needs to be innovative.
Now, it's very interesting, Sajjan. Today our topic is about social entrepreneurship. You've defined it very, very well. You gave an example of social enterprises.
Right.
You've also defined who are social entrepreneurs, which is something that we would like to know. And finally, is you compared it to a regular entrepreneur. Now, if one would like to be a social entrepreneur,
right,
what should he or she do, follow, or is there kind of a course that needs? I know at the beginning of the program today we shared that you are personally taking two courses already now.
Sure.
So how can someone follow your footsteps?
Excellent. Tariq, I think one of the things that I think we live in a time of absolute opportunities, and we're talking about there's TED education, there's Coursera, and there's the concept of MOOC, MOOC, or massive open online courses. So I think one of the opportunities is with Coursera, like I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm doing a course from Copenhagen Business School from in the concept of social entrepreneurship, and the reason why Copenhagen Business School is offering these courses through Coursera is, usually they have 20,000 students in their campus, and for whom they offer these courses free of cost. However, for people who are, but this free of cost for all the courses for all the students who are in the European Union. However, for students who are outside, there's a lot of cost if they have to go there and study. Therefore, they're making these courses available free of cost. And it's interesting through the MOOC, and it's interesting that this course is for 12 weeks, and in these 12 weeks, we interact with a lot of people. It's completely free. Of course, they can pay a marginal fee of 48 reals and take the certificate version of the course.
Oh, so this course is free?
It's absolutely free.
Both of them are free?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's very, very interesting. Now, before, I would really like to know more about that. We're just going to take a quick break for the adhan, and we'll revert back with our program today. Interesting discussion we have today on social entrepreneurship, and Sajan shared today a number of great information from social entrepreneurship, social enterprises, social entrepreneur, and now we are looking at how can one become a social entrepreneur. And then before the break, Sajan was talking about the kind of education and training that are available for entrepreneurs, for people that would like to embark into the journey. So Sajan, you're saying?
Right. So we were discussing about how the university offers these courses by MOOC, massive open online courses to the entire world. And the interesting thing is, we interact with the students all over the world, students who are pursuing this course, and over the 12 weeks, we are guided to come up with a business plan. And we're taught how to identify an opportunity, how to develop a business plan, and also to answer key questions such as who will finance our startup, what are the growth and exit strategies, and how do we measure the social impact, which is key, And it also, and the most interesting and most beautiful thing about the course is that we are presently, all the students are engaged in a 7-day challenge. And the 7-day challenge, we've got to collect as much money as possible for the enterprise. And the winning idea would be completely funded by the university.
Oh,
can you believe that?
That's really, really good.
Amazing. So one of these winning ideas, we asked to form groups, and one of these winning ideas that each of these groups come up with, from all the ideas that the groups come up with, one of these winning ideas will receive complete funding for starting the social enterprise.
That's really good. And joining it's free as well.
Joining is free. Of course, the people who'd like to take a paid version can. In addition, they just get a certificate, a verified certificate. So they can go by paying a small fee. I think it's about $50. That's it. And they can get it. And there are also other universities. There's going to be repetitions of these courses. So, and Coursera, as we know, since basically this is the Knowledge Aman show, it's appropriate to suggest that Coursera is an amazing kind of platform for not only courses on social entrepreneurship, but courses on any subject. You can just go and search for the subject that one might have interest in, and chances are they find a course.
And that's very interesting.
And from an extremely prestigious university.
Fantastic, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. A free knowledge for you to join in, learn, share, and yes, also get supported and funded and certificate for all your valuable time that you could utilize is what Sajan is doing. Now, Sajan, is it possible for businesses to seek high profits and still be social enterprises?
Right. There isn't, as we mentioned, there isn't a contradiction really, just because a social entrepreneur is really has come up with a strategy to kind of generate as much profits as possible. There isn't anything wrong with that. But a social enterprise invests that profit back into the business so that it creates lasting impact and provides lasting value to the society. So
Okay.
that's the difference.
Okay, and what steps should one take in order to start a social enterprise? So we defined what a social entrepreneur is, and
Right.
also is in social enterprise. But what steps
Right.
should one take to start up a social enterprise?
So it might be good for somebody to kind of reflect on a problem that they've automatically found a connect with. Sometimes right from their childhood, they might have felt that they'd like to take care of the poor, the needy, the homeless, the people who are suffering from mental disabilities, and so on and so forth. So how they've got to start perhaps is, first they've got a series of questions. First question is, what is the problem that they'd like to solve? Two, who are the people suffering from this problem?
Okay.
Third, what is the problem that they're suffering from?
Okay.
When do they suffer from this problem? Then they've got to become much more specific. How many people are affected by this problem?
Okay.
Where are they located geographically? Then they've got to come to the enterprise. How will the enterprise alleviate this problem?
Okay.
And how many people will benefit from this problem? What are going to be the major costs for this enterprise? Okay. And if it's not a business, how are they planning to fund the solution, and what are the behaviors that people should change in order to adopt the solution to their problem? And this is key because just because people think that they're doing something of value to society, sometimes we have a tendency to just walk up to people and say, I want you to do this differently, and people might actually think, who are you to tell me? So we need to be extremely mindful of if there are any other cultural reasons or any other reasons because of which people may not be willing to change their behavior. So ideally, getting the responses to these questions is an extremely necessary starting point to start a social enterprise.
Okay. Now tell me a thing. Talking about, of course, it's obvious that a regular or a normal business might make more money than a social enterprise. But just for the sake of asking question, can a social enterprise make more money than a normal business?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? The enterprise part of social enterprise can lead to generation of more and more and more, money.
Yeah.
However, for it to be a social enterprise, the focus goes back to creating lasting impact for
Very
more
good.
and more people.
Yeah, that's a very good one. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. To create a social enterprise, and also for you to become a social entrepreneur, those are what has been shared today with Sajan. But one important thing that you need to put in mind is you need to have the prime goal as giving back to the society. That's a prime thing that you need to have in your mind and part of your goals in order to have a successful and a long-lasting and impactful social enterprise and social entrepreneurship as well. What are the education and training? You shared some, but what are the education and training that are available for aspiring social innovators?
Right. In addition to the one that we see presently in Coursera, there are a lot of courses, standard courses, which colleges are offering. And even at the same time as we're discussing, there is another course that has been launched by Pennsylvania Business School on social entrepreneurship. And the other thing that I might, if I could touch upon, is people do not need to necessarily think that they have to start an enterprise of their own. But they can try and find if there's an enterprise that's running and decide to play a small role in that enterprise for starters. Or they can enroll in the enterprise and go to the management with an idea and try to make that idea extremely successful. And I think that's what we see happening in Knowledge Oman. What we see is people there coming with new and different ideas. And I think that's really these people are likely to blossom into social entrepreneurs at some point in time. So it's not necessary to really start their own enterprise right from the get-go. They can start, they can join another organization such as Knowledge Mart, go and share their idea and try to make that idea an idea that really impacts society. And then
they could utilize the platform, and they could become entrepreneurs within the platform or within an organization. Any organization that is, as a matter of fact, of being a socially driven, one could join in and become an entrepreneur within the organization and utilize the platform's benefits that is around there. Now, How can you identify a person? You've shared the qualities, of course, but you're an organization, and you are socially driven, and you like to start recruiting people, recruiting employees to join and work with you.
Right.
How could you identify? Can you share some tips to identify who has an entrepreneurial spirit, but not any, but rather socially, and who can and has the potential of being a social-driven employee or a team member? How could you know that?
I think that's a beautiful question, because it touches upon a very important concept. So, do all the employees of an organization which is striving to create social impact have to be people who are, having the values of compassion, kindness, and other thing, or can they be extremely very focused on their work and their income? So it may not be at the outset. It may not be necessary for all. Let's assume we have an organization. Let's assume, if I can take the example of Knowledge Oman. So let's assume Knowledge Oman is coming up with a project next month, and the project has got high potential. The main goal of the project is to create impact in society, lasting impact in society. Now, the question comes is it important that the people we hire in order to kind of support this project are the people who have to necessarily have, that concept in their mind, the concept of impacting society? I would say no. So let's say, for example, the reason I say so is because let's say we need a project manager. Now, because we're running a social enterprise, we start dealing with the double challenge of having a talented project manager who is also having a strong passion for creating social impact. This may not be necessary. As long as the business is designed to create social impact, it's good enough to hire talented employees who might work for their wages. Because the business is there in order to create social impact, but the employees are working for themselves.
They're very good, very well thought of tips and advices for all those also wishing to start up a social enterprise here in Oman. Sajjan, we just got a few minutes before end of our program. I really enjoy talking to you always, as you're aware.
Thank you, Tariq. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
One of your dreams is to create a social enterprise.
Right.
Could you share a bit about that?
Oh, excellent. At one point in my life, I used to, when we looked at the story of a special intern, we've seen that the father in question had a son who was suffering from autism. So there was, I myself have suffered from chronic depression for a period of time in my life, and I feel grateful to be out of that phase of my life.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So, so my thinking is that I've got to create something for people who are, suffering from mental illnesses. And they don't necessarily have to be depression. They can be a range of other illnesses such as schizophrenia and so on and so forth. And particularly when we look back to those questions, where should this be geographically? I think I should start off from Kerala, which is my my home state, and more specifically from Kannur, which is my hometown. And I've noticed, so who are the people who are the beneficiaries? Now, I've noticed that for every 200,000 people who are suffering from, chronic mental disorders, there's just about one doctor who they have access to. So really, there's a need to address this issue. So that's my idea.
And I will tell you one thing, Sajjan. Having working with you, you have leadership skills. You are entrepreneur. I know that, mashallah. And the great thing is that you already have a vision. You already have an idea. The only thing is you just need to get out there and make it happen. And I know, inshallah, you will make it happen.
Inshallah. Thank you, Tariq.
Sajjan, thank you very much for joining us today on Oman Radio FM 90.4 to share about the social entrepreneurship. I would like to take this opportunity to wish you the very best and success in all you do, inshallah. And of course, wishing you the best and great for establishing a dream, establishing the social enterprise.
Wish you the very same too, and thank you so very much.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our program for this week. I hope you all had an intriguing time with us. If you have an interesting topic, feedback, or comment that you wish to share with us about the program, please write to me an email at my site, www.tariq.net. I'll be pleased to hear from you. Let us catch up again next week on Tuesday, same time at 5:30 p.m. for a knowledge session. I'm Tariq Al-Barwani along with DJ Al-Badri, wishing you all a happy and a pleasant week. Ma'a salama.